was just trying to get my shift settled down. We good now. Are we live?
We live. What's up, bro? Folks, hey, welcome to this version of the TD report. Welcome, folks. We're here, this version of the TD report, and I'm with my man. I'm Tony Kennedy. This is my man Jody Coleman out from the Midwest. Jody, we have a lot for March. You know what? I think the name is appropriate, March Madness, because it seems like everything is mad now, Jody. I mean, talk to me about this quickly. We're gonna get into it later, but briefly, tell me what you think about Lamar real quick before we get into everything else.
You know how I feel, but for everybody out here watching, man, Lamar Jackson, I believe, in my opinion, is being completely and utterly disrespected. Now it's going beyond just the Baltimore Ravens, but we're looking at the whole NFL that they're disrespecting this guy. I've never seen an MVP get disrespected at this level. He's been in the league 5 years, and it seems like every time, every scenario comes up, they keep moving the goalposts for Lamar Jackson. Like I said, he's an MVP. What's up, Dev, man? How you feeling, man?
What's up?
What's up, fellas?
He's an MVP player in his first 5 years. Now he's considered to be injury prone. Guess what? When Matthew Stafford first got in the year in the NFL, he had a lot of injuries, but they still signed him. When you look at Sam Bradford, when he came in the league, who was well documented his injuries, he signed huge mega deals. But all of a sudden, Lamar Jackson, because I don't really think Lamar Jackson was really hurt last year. I think he could have played if he wanted to. If he was under contract, I don't think he would have sat out those particular games. But that's just what I feel. That's not the truth. That's not what I've heard. That's how I feel. Now, the way that they put this franchise tag on this guy for $32 million when the one that he should have had was $45 million where he should have been playing for. Now these other teams are backing off of him because I'm going to say this before I know Dev got a lot to say because he got a lot of inside stuff, but I'm going to say this before he gets on. This has nothing to do with his mother being an agent. This has everything to do with the NFL getting scared. If he gets what he asked for without an agent, there's going to be a lot of guys without jobs because it's going to be a lot of people like, why would I get this money over here when I can keep all this money in-house? And they know the NFL is like, no, we don't want that to happen because these agents, if these players don't need agents, then it's going to be a lot of people without jobs. It's going to be a lot of situations that's going to be bad. And I'm just speaking out of I don't have anybody telling me this or anything. This is just how I feel. But mark my word, if he gets away and gets what he's asking for, he's getting Deshaun Watson money without an agent. Watch how things differ in the NFL and watch how the market for quarterbacks start to expand and less agents will be in front of those contract negotiations.
Talk to me, Dad. What's going on, man? How you feeling, man? Since Monday, when I told you before the Tuesday, I said he's not going to sign. Talk to me, man. Talk to me about Lamar. What you feeling?
I mean, I don't know, man. It's just I get him wanting the full guarantee, and I understand what he was trying to do. But $133 million is $44.3 a year. So you're 26. You take that for 3 years, you're only 29. You still got plenty of time to get up out of Baltimore and go get another $150 million from somebody else for 3 more years. You know, and that's my only thing. I get what he was trying to do, but $133 million guaranteed, and I believe it was they were talking about 75 of it due at signing. So you walking out of there with a $75 million check in your hand, and you haven't even taken another snap.
Well, Deb, here's what I would say. When he didn't make this move after the 21 season, then he boxed himself in the corner to get one big deal instead of 2 short deals. And that right there, he should have been having someone in his ear about that because he could have come back at the thing 2 different times because listen, Had he done that in 21, it would be 22. You know, he'd be a third of the way through it, and then he's ready for an extension after next season to come get some more money. That's just a way of looking at it. But you know, he didn't do that, and so we're here.
Yeah, but my biggest gripe is I knew this was going to happen because he really wasn't their guy. He was Ozzie Newsome's guy. Ozzie Newsome isn't there anymore. That means Eric DeCosta, who was Ozzie Newsome's assistant GM, I don't believe he was fully on board. And I don't believe Harbaugh was on board. I don't believe even Bisciotti was on board fully for drafting him that in 2018 at the 32nd pick. I just don't. I think they went with it.
Dave, can I jump here for a minute? If it wasn't for Lamar Jackson, Harbaugh wouldn't even have a job right now.
None of them will have a job.
True, but I think at the end of the day, when they made the pick, they were still Flacco. They were still on Flacco. Flacco was still their guy, and I believe, you know, Ozzie Newsome jumped out there and made a tremendous move. It worked, but I don't think the other brass. Dick Cass is another one who retired. I don't think any of them were fully on board with the pick. I think Ozzie Newsome's track record got them to back off and leave it alone and let him do what he do because he had been so successful with picks in the first round. He's always pretty much hit home runs on first round picks. He's, you know, you look at Ray Lewis and Ogden. Look at all the guys. He hit home runs on these guys. He didn't have a whole lot of first rounders that didn't pan out for the Ravens. So I think that Terrell Suggs, look at all the guys. I mean, everybody he pretty much picked in the first round. Ed Reed. You look at these guys. None of these guys, Chris McAllister, Dwayne Starks, all them guys. None of them guys, you know, Jamie Sharper and Peter Boulware. None of them guys. Joe Flacco. Yeah, none of them guys missed. Jamal Lewis. They didn't miss on them guys. So I think a lot of that was, okay, he's been having a good track record, but in their heart of hearts, they were drinking the Kool-Aid that Bill Polian was selling when he said Lamar Jackson should change positions and he wasn't tall enough and all that stuff. He's 6'3" and all that. So even though he saved a lot of their jobs, he still wasn't the guy that they wanted to pick at that time.
Hey, Deb.
Hold on, Tony, can
Go ahead.
My thing is,
Jody.
But since Ozzie Newsome hasn't been the GM, they've been missing a lot. They may have missed. We don't know if they missed with Bateman. Hollywood Brown, he's no longer a Raven. Not saying they missed on it, but he's no longer a Raven. He didn't sign an extension. So outside of Andrews, who was an excellent pick, they haven't really been picking great offensive linemen. They got since he's taken over, because Brown was Ozzie Newsome's pick, correct? Orlando Brown, that was Ozzie Newsome's pick. So it ain't like they've been hitting home runs with their picks. So evidently, Ozzie Newsome knew what he was talking about, and to not give Lamar Jackson because you feel like he wasn't particularly your guy, he won y'all a lot of football games. You put up the stat where his winning percentage is like the 5th in NFL history. Like, it's about winning games.
Yeah,
go ahead, Tony. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what I was saying is the stat. Dev, read that stat off for everyone for the 5 quarterbacks. Name those 5 quarterbacks that had 100 touchdowns. 61 starts. Read those 5 quarterbacks.
I don't have it in front of me, man. Give me a second. I gotta look at it because I wrote that earlier. I forgot what I put down. Give me a second.
It's an amazing stat, folks.
Give me a second.
It showed you how good Lamar Jackson really is. He's actually a good quarterback who so happens who can run the ball. And I'm tired. And tired of the narrative. Go ahead, Dev.
Quarterbacks in NFL history with a 96+ passer rate and 100+ touchdowns and 61 starts. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Dan Marino, Aaron Rodgers, and Deshaun Watson. Lamar isn't a running quarterback. He's a great quarterback that can run. That's all. That's all I said.
But once again, the narrative that they're trying to paint out here is they trying to change it. So I looked at a couple quarterbacks that had over 700 yards rushing just last year, and they still not considered running quarterbacks. One of them being Daniel Jones, the other one being Josh Allen.
Hey, guys, we're here to help with the narratives, and these narratives, you know, a couple years ago when Lamar had to say when he led the league in passing touchdown, and he looked at the reporters and said, pretty good for a running back. You know, he had to throw some shade back. I'm sick of this because it only happens with black quarterbacks. It ain't happening with Josh Allen. It damn sure ain't happened with Danny Dollars now, because that's his new name. It ain't dimes, because he ain't throwing no dimes. He just making dollars. So, you know, that narrative needs to change. And that needs to change from us. You got black folks who are disrespecting Lamar, and you have never seen nothing like this. So let me go with Shannon Sharp said. All those 5 teams, Atlanta, Carolina, Raiders, Commanders, and it was one more team.
The Dolphins.
What are y'all talking about? What have y'all won? Y'all quarterbacks ain't won nothing. What have y'all won? To talk about you don't want to listen to what Lamar has? Guess what, guys? Here's how negotiations start. You can find out that Lamar is playing a hard line with the Ravens because he want to be a you-know-what to the Ravens negotiating. He may be $10 million less with you, but you don't know that you're going to come out and say you don't want Washington, really? You got Sam Howell. Who the hell is Sam Howell? Really? Really? Sam Howell. The Raiders, you got nobody. Carolina, you got Sam Darnold. Atlanta, I like your young quarterback, but he ain't no Lamar. Y'all out here tripping, but y'all don't think I'm tripping because I'm backing Lamar. I don't even like the Ravens. I don't really mess with them, but I mess with the person, the player. That guy right there, for you to think that this guy isn't a game changer for your franchise, you don't know football. If you're thinking that way, you don't know football, and I don't respect it because I've been seeing too much of it, and it's sickening. It really is sickening. The guy's done everything the right way. He have never been in trouble. Do everything that's asked of him, and now he's trying to go get his money so he can feed his family. And that's right, feed his family on that level. Because when you're not at your job taking $100,000 less than the man next to you, and you might be better than him, so don't go sit here and talk that crap. The narrative is what we're going to change always here. Go ahead,
Tony. I want to add this too because I just had this conversation on TikTok about Lamar Jackson. They said he's getting too much money now. He's injury prone and all this good stuff. And this is the narrative that I want to speak on. It's all right for these other quarterbacks to get their money, but nobody complains about the owner, how much the owner is making. Last time I checked, the owner ain't scored a touchdown, the owner ain't kicked a field goal, the owner ain't made a tackle. But you're going to tell me that a quarterback that's putting his life on the line you don't know, because evidently you can be hurt very seriously, and that person is considered making too much money. But if it wasn't for these quarterbacks, a lot of people wouldn't be in the stands even watching the Ravens. So when I look at it, yeah, the Browns did screw. That's my team. That's what we do. We screw stuff up.
But they didn't screw up.
My thing is with Lamar Jackson, we know what his accolades is. I've never seen an MVP be disrespected like this. It's guys that went their whole career, didn't win an MVP, and got multiple extensions. Drew Brees being one of them. People realize Drew Brees never won an MVP? He never won an MVP in his career. Russell Wilson never won an MVP in his career. Now, both of those guys did win Super Bowls, but give Lamar time. Neither one of those guys, well, Russell Wilson won his first 5 years, but Matt Ryan never won a Super Bowl, and he kept getting extension after extension. He got everything he asked for. Lamar Jackson, it seemed like every time he comes, they move the goalposts. Well, he can't be a passer. This year, before he got injured, he was 17 touchdowns and only 7 interceptions. He still had over 700 yards rushing. He still had 2,200 yards passing. The team was in first place. When he left the lineup, the team didn't score more than 17 points in any game that he was not playing in. And that 17 points came in a playoff game against the Bengals. That was the most points they scored out of all those games he was out. So if you question the importance of what he brings to the table, with all those, and you got to think, the year before that, he was playing with a mass unit. Everybody was injured. and he still was in first place. He had the best record in the AFC when he went out, and they didn't even make the playoffs that season.
Hey, Dev. So, you know what? There's a lot of respect because, Dev, you the local rival from Washington. He's a division rival talking like that. I don't even really give a crap. But we all on here, and folks, you getting a rare time where all of us are agreeing with something. This is very rare because normally we going at each other with different things. But this right here is obvious for football people. Football people can see this. This is obvious. And Dev, it's just mind-boggling, Dev. It's really disappointing. I'm disappointed because of the verbiage and the rhetoric that's just going around. I mean, have you looked at their sites, Dad? Have you seen some of their
Well,
sites?
it's funny y'all mentioned Russell Wilson. He hasn't even gotten an MVP vote, let alone an MVP. And he's sitting on a, he got what, that big 160 million to go to the Broncos or whatever. So, I mean, but man, I don't know, man. I'm sitting here trying to figure out how you can negotiate with a guy, your franchise player, for 25 months and still don't have a deal. I'm really confused on that. I don't know how that's possible. I've never in my life heard of a front office and their so-called franchise player talking for 25 months and still come to no agreement. Something's not right with that, man. Something's not right.
Something's not sitting right. Hey, folks.
Something's not right. So
what did he say? Hey, folks, we have a lot of stuff locally. We have Boeheim has retired. We have Patrick Ewing was fired.
Fired.
We have John Morant is, I don't know. I just think I don't know what's going on in the world of basketball. Dan, bring us up to date in the world of basketball, please.
Well, Jim Boeheim, 47 years later, he's out. I mean, it's like Syracuse got rid of him. Sort of got rid of him yesterday. I mean, I think he knew. That's why he didn't really answer in the post in the post game presser. But they promoted his assistant Adrian Autry to the head coach position, which is a good move. Autry's ready to be a head coach, so that's a good move for him. Jim Boeheim goes out as the second all-time winningest coach in Division I history. Over 1,015 wins, I believe, 1 national championship, 5 Final Fours, numerous other accolades as well. Today, Georgetown, finally got rid of their greatest player in the history of their program, John Thompson, who in the last 2 years has gone 13-50, 6-25.
You mean Pat Ewing? Yeah,
Pat Ewing. I'm sorry, 6-25. And 7-25. So he was fired about an hour and a half before we came on. So you look at Boeheim, the whole old guard is gone. Coach K, Roy Williams, Jay Wright, Jim Boeheim. I mean, those guys have been around forever, and there's no more of that. They're all gone now. So the only one left is Bill Self of that old of the blue blood situation, and he's in the hospital dealing with heart issues right now. So
ironically, he's in the hospital.
Well, Calipari's still around, so
yeah, Calipari kind of in between that.
I don't put him with them guys. I don't.
Yeah.
He hasn't done. He's had more talent than probably all of them. And he's not done half the stuff they've done. I don't put him. I never give him that love. I just can't do it.
They do. Nope. I mean, that may be true, but he does have a championship, and getting a championship in college basketball, he has several Final Fours as well too.
Yeah, does he have two?
He got one.
One, because the one he lost
at Memphis.
In 2008, Memphis.
Okay. He lost at Memphis, but he went to the Final Four with UMass. He went to Final Four.
He lost to Bill Self at Kansas. Kansas beat him on the charm. He went to the Final Four at UMass. He went to the final. But to me, the whole Kentucky thing, he's had the number one recruiting class pretty much 11 straight years, and he's got one championship. For me, that's just not enough.
I get it, but I mean, you can't take away. It's so look at Boeheim, who coached for 37 odd years, I believe, and he only has one championship. Now it's because he had Carmelo Anthony. He hasn't
had the talent.
He hasn't had nowhere near the talent that
He
Calipari
did
got.
used to have that talent in the late 80s, early 90s when you got Derek Coleman, Billy Owens, Sherman Douglas, Stevie Thompson, Ronnie Cycli.
But you got to think at that time the whole Big East was good.
I mean,
Calipari is in a watered down SEC, and he cannot get to championships. It's not acceptable. It's not.
But can we agree that the SEC has championships? Florida has one too. You got Kansas have one. I mean, we can't just
Arkansas, you mean?
We can't say it for some people, and then when they get to Calipari, just because he had talent.
No, we're not moving it. I'm just saying when you look at the SEC, they have 2 from Florida and 1 from Arkansas. That's the only championship. In Kentucky has 1 in 2012. That's the only championship since 2006.
That's more than the Big Ten.
They've got 3 since 2006.
That's more than the Big Ten.
You know?
Hey, we were talking about that. The Big Ten is gone 23 years without a championship in basketball.
Michigan State.
And they're not getting one, and they're not getting one this year either.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm a Big Ten guy. And and they keep saying that the Big Ten could arguably be one of the best conferences in America, and it can be. But the point of the matter is going to Calipari to not put him in the same breath with these other guys just because what we think about the talent that he has. That's not fair. A championship is a championship. A Final Four is a Final Four, regardless of your roster.
I don't put Calipari with them because I don't feel like he's old enough with them. And those guys, to me, when they were coaching those 70s and 80s guys, those guys there, those 70s, the 80s, I just think Calipari to me was the in-between era. And I put him as great, but I don't put him as old head great. I put those guys, the Boeheims. Hell, I mean, I really don't even put Roy there, but the Boeheims and the Krzyzewskis and those people like that, man, and you know, the Rollie Massiminos and all them, that's just a different era to me, man. And you know, like we call it the new blue. I see Calipari as kind of in that transitional area. Like they started getting good around early 90s to whenever. That's where I see Calipari. Like those old guys there, those are OGs, man. The one Boeheim is an OG. You know, Rollie Massimino is the OG.
That joker been at Syracuse since 1968, man.
Yeah, and he's been coaching since 76.
76. He lived 47 years, man. That's almost 60 years. He was there 55 years, man. That's insane.
That's a long.
And one championship. He got one championship in 47 years. He got one championship.
Yeah, and you know what? That's gonna be an issue with him. But to stay there that long, to go through some of the, arguably, that was probably the best conference for a 4 or 5 year period. They still the only conference to have 3 teams in the Final Four.
And that's, and that's
dude,
wonderful, Tony. But
he was going against some. He was going against some monsters.
He went against behemoths. He went against behemoths, man.
He went against rock, man. Them are some
behemoths. There's some behemoths out there.
I'm not a Boeheim fan.
I'm agreeing, but we got to. This is where the TD report changed the narrative. I get that y'all saying that he did this and he did that, but at the end of the day, that man has one championship in 47 years. And y'all said my thing is, and the reason why he wasn't able to adapt because he kept running that zone. He never adapted to today's game. You're not beating anybody with that zone in today's game. Who is he beating with that zone? Who?
But first of all, when Syracuse when's the last time they had a first round lottery pick?
Carmelo Anthony.
How many years ago was that?
20. That's my point. They had Michael Carter Williams.
How long ago was that?
About 8-10 years ago? I don't know.
Okay. No, what's the name? What's the name was more recent than that? Wasn't Wes Johnson more recent than that?
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Wes Johnson was more recent than that.
For some reason, where I give Boeheim credit, because I don't like Syracuse. Where I give him credit is because he took average talent because he didn't have a whole bunch. He did in the 80s because everybody else did. But when everybody else didn't, he didn't have a whole lot of talent. And when he did have a talented squad, they did win it. They did win it with McNamara and the boy. I'm not here's my thing. I'm biased. I'm a Carolina fan. You know how many times I heard the same thing about Dean Smith? Oh, he only got 2 titles. Oh, he only got this. He had all that. That's fine. He was still an innovator, and he won.
Listen.
That 2-3 zone that Boeheim plays, nobody even knows how to play it.
But that's
And
the
it
point.
does work.
Listen, it don't work because if it worked, he would have more than 1 champ. That's why he couldn't get those #1 recruits to come into Syracuse. He couldn't get those #1 recruits to come into Syracuse because they ran that zone. You got to be innovative in this game. You cannot run the same type of game and then get mad because you're not winning championship. He had ample opportunity to get him somebody else in there and put a different game plan in. He should have adapted to the game. He never adapted to the game. You can't run the same zone you ran in '78 and run it in 2008.
That shit was still effective, Jody.
Why only got 1 champion? He got 1 championship. If it's so effective, why you don't have more championships?
First of all, to recruit at Syracuse and to do what he did with minimum, when I say minimum talent, when I say over the years, I can name more Syracuse football players than I can basketball players.
Is it Syracuse in New York?
Give me 1 second, y'all. 1 second.
Okay.
Is it upstate New York?
But is it in New York? Is it in the state of New York?
Yeah.
One of the richest beds of basketball. But guess what? Nobody wants to go play for Syracuse. Nobody
Jody,
wants to play that zone.
You know where Syracuse is in relation to New York City?
Yeah, I know.
I'm closer to you in Dayton than they are in Syracuse.
Listen, I get it, but it's still the state of New York. It's still the state of New York. And what I'm saying is, nobody's coming to play for Syracuse because they did not want to run that zone. Because guess what happens when you get down against that zone? If Syracuse start going down by 10 or 15 points, it's hard to get back in the game when you running that zone. And that's all you know
what they used to do when they got down. They did a great job. And I try to watch a lot of their games to try to see the principles that they use in it. Man, they did a hell of a job of trapping out of it too at times when they got down. Hey, he stuck with what he wanted to stick with. He did it his way.
I didn't know.
You know what? He got a championship. He did what he did. But guess what? He did it his way. Now, if we really want to talk about hotbed of talent and who should have more championships, it's the people who've been coached at the University of Maryland. Because ain't no more talent been through this area than through this thing than down there in this area with University of Maryland. Maryland should have 5 national championships in basketball. To only have 1 in basketball, it's crazy.
They don't get the hometown guys like Kevin Durant. How's Kevin Durant? How do you let him get out of here?
And Beasley, you can keep going on.
That's
Ty, Delonte. You can name them. Keep naming them. They don't get them. But he retired. Patrick Ewing was fired because for some reason Patrick Ewing could not get the talent. Talk to me, Dad. What happened with that? What happened with Patrick Ewing? Why did Patrick Ewing?
He was getting talent. Everybody transferred. He had Akinjo. He had Mac McClung. He had Wahab who came back. He had a lot of guys. He had quality talent.
So why wouldn't they stay, Dad? Talk to me.
I don't know what went down there. I don't know. I don't know the story behind that. I've heard that he does not do a great job of relating to today's players. I've heard that from a lot of AAU coaches that are at the high-level AAU circuit where they've said that he doesn't relate well to today's players. That's what they said.
So Deb and Jody, when you say people don't relate well, you can take it one or two ways. One way is that he's an old school coach and he's demanding more from you than you demanding from yourself. Another way could be he's just an old school coach who won't adapt like Jody was talking about with the zone. So which one was it?
Or Tony, maybe he just can't coach.
Well, that could be That could be it too.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe he just can't coach.
He's pretty bad, man. It's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. But hey, folks, we've covered the coaches. Now, what I want to do, we stand on the topic of basketball. What I want to do is talk to you guys. You two guys got sons. You have sons, and you know, between the 15 and 30 years old. You know, impressionable black men. This Ja Morant thing is really kind of getting on me because Ja Morant, folks, let's get this straight so we can stop this. You have two black men on here who are in their kids' lives. So all these narratives that are all out here, Ja Morant has his dad in his life, okay? So let's cut that narrative out. What is going on for this guy to be flashing guns, flashing a bus with a gun, to be beefing everywhere, in the damn mall doing whatever? What is going on? Are the people just with him not telling them what he need to hear? Or they just tell them what they want to hear? Talk to me, Jody.
Just like I said, none of this is fact. This is just me being a father, me watching Ja Morant's career. His father is at his courtside, but he plays in the city of Memphis. If you look at the past 5 to 10 years, there's been several Memphis rappers that have been murdered. The city of Memphis, they're becoming one of the hip-hop's down south hip-hop capitals of the world. They're starting to get a lot of rappers, and you know, a lot of them starting to come out of Memphis. Mm-hmm. So Memphis is a very gritty city. It's an up-and-coming city, but it's really gritty, and their team normally takes on that of that city. If you remember, the Grindhouse, remember they had Tony Allen there. Mm-hmm. You know, they had Zach Randolph. You know, they had Marc Gasol. And I'm looking at Ja Morant coming into this new age of the Memphis Grizzlies, kind of adapting with what the city. I'm not gonna give him a pass for doing what he's doing. I believe his dad is in his life. I just think sometimes when you get some people telling you that you should be a certain type of way or you soft, the worst thing you can call anybody, any man that has any integrity about himself, the worst thing you can call him is soft. Okay. So when you call that man soft, he has to prove to everybody that he's not. And I think he's going through an identity crisis at this time because he wasn't that guy when he played AAU. He wasn't that guy when he first got into the league. Now they want to be the bad boys. And they're going beyond the bad boys. He's trying to prove off the court the ordeal that he had with the Indiana Pacers with his teammate. His partner got put out of it. They came back and pointed what they thought was a red beam into the Indiana Pacers bus. You're trying to be tougher. I'm okay with you being tough on the court. I'm okay with you fouling. I'm okay with you pushing people. I'm okay with you chirping at people. I'm okay with it on the court. I'm not okay with it off the court. I'm not okay with that off the court. You're a young man, and everybody's looking up to you. You're becoming an icon like Allen Iverson. And right now, what the kids are seeing is, I want to be this thug. I want to be like Ja Morant. Ja Morant, somebody needs to grab him. An old head needs to grab him. And Allen Iverson needs to go and tell him, like, this ain't the way. This ain't the way. And right now, Ja Morant, I think he's trying to live out. Because it seems like every rapper wants to be a ball player and every ball player wants to be a rapper. And I think that's what he's living right now. His dad going to have to stop being his best friend and start being his dad and pull him to the side. It ain't even about this man and his millions. It's about this man and his life. Okay. So that's what I got on that, man.
Talk to me, Dad. From a dad's perspective, talk to me.
I mean, what Jody said. I mean, I just piggyback what Jody said. I'm not going to give him a pass either. And the whole rap thing, Memphis has been in their own little way become sort of like a rap capital right now. I mean, you kind of got more people coming out of there than probably anywhere as far as rap consistently right now. As I like to call it, noise. I don't call it rap. I call it noise. So for me, it's no excuse for what he did, but he's what, 22, 23 years old, 23 years old. I mean, he did something stupid. He didn't kill nobody. He didn't shoot nobody. He flashed a gun. So end of the day, he'll get his whatever, his smack on the hand. He'll hopefully learn from it. Hopefully his dad will hopefully be more of a dad and not try to be his boy so much. The sideline antics and all that. Tone that down a little. We don't need all that. We don't need to see you every night. It's not about you right now. It's about your son. We know you put in the work to get him here, but we don't need to see that every night. You just reap the benefits of the $200 million that he's bringing home. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's a touchy situation. But hopefully this time away will get him back on the right track and get his mind back to where, he can focus on being the best basketball player he can be and not have to worry about him doing some of the stuff he's done. The situation with, like you said, in Indiana, the situation with Shannon Sharp, the situation here, some other situations with him and flashing his grills and all that, trying to be trill, as they call it down that way, or whatever they call it. I don't know, But just play ball, man. You got a lot of talent. You're one of the better players in the world. You were a guy that no one thought could make it to this level. You've overachieved. I mean, you look back at it, the Pelicans should have took you number one. You know what I'm saying? Basically looking at the draft, the guy that they took has played 28 games in his career per season so far. And he's a great player when he's healthy, but he's never healthy. So for me, you have a little girl, John. You have a little girl that is, needs her dad. She needs you out. She needs you here. So, just do the right thing. And like I said, I'm not a real fan of his. I think he's a great player. I don't mind. I think I like him. I don't like the Grizzlies. I don't like a team that, I get what they're trying to do, but you haven't done anything to run your mouth that much. You got to beat somebody before you run your mouth. That's my thing. But I get what they're doing. They're trying to rough it up a little bit, be a little different than the rest of the league, all buddy, all AAU buddy and all that. I'm cool with that. I just want them to go about it a way where, they haven't earned their stripes yet to be talking like that.
Sometimes, on this show, we're going to ask you guys to take the sportscaster hat off and be fathers. Folks, what you just heard was a message from two strong African-American fathers. When I say these are teachable moments, that was a teachable moment right there. And let's hope, somebody heard that who has a kid right now and whose kid may be great. Like the other night, let me give you real quick, Deb and Joe. Jody, you're not from here, but a big school here is called Wise High School. The other night, the last thing I said, you remember we talked about Tony Dorsett and he came and said something, I would listen? Remember, that was how we ended. That started because of the guy at Georgia that was racing the car and he got something and he was doing that. Remember I said that they need to go talk to high school kids and stuff like that?
Right.
That next morning, we had some kid who was killed at our high school running his car, at an excessive speed. And, like I said, that it was terrible that we said it that night. That's what we ended with. And the next morning,
he didn't die, though, did he? Hey, well, he didn't die, did he?
No, he didn't die, but the girl died that was in the passenger.
Yeah, the girl that was with him died. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And, these are, like I said, these are all teachable moments. Sometimes we're going to ask you guys to talk to people because there's some young dad out here who's about to come into what Ja Morant's doing. Maybe he might have listened and said, you know what? I got to start doing things a little different. He out there looking like he trying to lead his life like, oh, he looked like Usher and he trying. Nah, dog. It ain't about you.
Nope.
It's about that kid. And then you got grandkids. It's about them grandkids. And you need to be setting that example. As black men, that we get all these stereotypes. When we are in the light, we need to take advantage of that time. We need to set that good example because there are kids who are watching us when they say, "Well, I'm not a role model." But BS. We kind of are when you in that light like that.
Hey,
They
Tony,
to me, they put the wrong people in the light. Go ahead, Jody.
I got to go, but I want to lead with this with the Ja Morant situation, and this is what I want to see. First of all, I want his dad, like I said, don't be his homeboy, but you don't have to come down and be Cliff Huxtable either. Just learn how to talk to Ja. You know how to talk to him. We putting a lot of pressure on him like he don't know, because that's the only thing we see on TV. That's not saying that Ja Morant's dad is not a good father, because we need to sometimes take our hat off to him and LeVar Ball. We don't give enough credit to those guys because they're in their kids' life. Regardless,
Yes.
I know I know a lot of people that don't have a dad, but I'm gonna lead with this: guys like Michael Vick, Plaxico Burress, Allen Iverson, guys that have been through this, especially with gun charges and being incarcerated. Allen Iverson going through everything y'all know he went through. I don't just want those guys to send tweets out. I want to see those guys at the game and really put their arm around Ja. Because right now we are at a very thin line on losing him or him doing the right thing. I don't want to lose this kid. I don't care if he never plays another game of basketball. I don't want to lose him to the streets. And that's what people got to get over. Okay, he can play basketball. That's not the only reason I want Ja Morant to be alive and free. It ain't got nothing to do with basketball. He has the same skin tone as me, and I know how hard it is out here for him. And it's not about basketball. It's about this young man and his life.
Yep.
So I don't want Plaxico to send a tweet. I don't want to see Allen Iverson send a tweet. I want y'all to go wherever he's at and mentor that young man. Mentor him right now. Right now. If y'all see it right now. If anybody watching this that knows somebody, tell them to go get on the next plane and go mentor. Don't send a tweet talking about what you would do. Go and do it. Because he needs it. As a man, not as a basketball player. He'll be fine as a basketball player. He'll be okay. As a man. Could y'all please do that for me? I got to go, fellas.
All right, Jody.
I got to roll.
That's our Midwest. We're gonna wrap this up, folks. Join us again on Monday night. We're gonna break down our brackets, give you some of the brackets on Sunday. Remember, Sunday is the drawing for the NCAA. We're gonna break down. We're gonna see if Dev's team, Kansas, can defend their title. Because you know my team right now, Carolina, we fighting just to get back in the tournament.
Yeah,
so we're going to see.
And they losing at the half to Virginia, so they got to win this game.
Yeah, they losing by 1 point. They'll be all right. But we will talk to you guys. Thank you for joining us tonight on the TD Report. We just wanted to get everything in. Hey, make sure, baby, do the right thing. Do the right thing. And don't forget, on Sunday, it's spring forward. Put that clock. You lose an hour. You better get that hour of sleep. Yeah. You better get that hour of sleep. You spring in. Hey, that clock go forward on Sunday, baby. So we see y'all the next day on Monday. See you guys live. See you guys on the TD Report. Make sure you go and join us on Spotify, please. All right, Deb. We'll talk, brother.
Later, bro.